What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be going over Palantir again, and we recently got news today that another high-level executive of Palantir just dumped a pretty significant amount of shares. So we're going to go over exactly what this can mean going forward for Palantir, as well as some other news that we have received and a pretty substantial price target increase that we got from Goldman Sachs. We're also going to go over some very unusual options activity for Palantir that suggests that Palantir is going to have a very sharp reversal to the upside very soon. So coming over to the chart of Palantir, we can see that it is very oversold right now. It has had a massive sell-off from this $45 range coming all the way down right now, and we can see that the stock is trading at about $23.85. So before we get into all of this other juicy information about Palantir, if you guys enjoyed the information that I provide for you in this video, make sure you go down and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video, so you get to stay up to date on all of your favorite stocks, learn about a couple of new ones, and see exactly which options I am trading and which strategies I am using to trade them. So coming over to the option chain for Palantir, we are going to be taking a look at the March 19th expiration date, and we are going to be taking a look first at these call options. So we can see that there is a very high open interest on these $30 strikes. There is almost 58,000 of these contracts being held in people's brokerage accounts at the current time. Now that means that options traders are betting on a very sharp reversal in Palantir coming very soon. Coming over to the volume, 20,000 of these contracts were traded today. That is a very large amount. Coming over to these 32s, we can also see that they have a 38,000 open interest and another very high volume of about almost 26,000. So there are a lot of options traders that are betting on a very sharp increase in Palantir very soon. We can also see on these 35s, they have a 66,000 open interest, but with a slightly less volume. Now, taking a look over at the puts, we can take a look at something similar. We do see some pretty high open interest on these 20 strikes and these $15 strikes. Now, I don't think that Palantir is going to be going back down to 15, and we can see that the volume on these contracts is much less than we saw with these calls. Palantir is down a very significant amount today, and there are two main reasons for why this is. Yesterday, we got news that there is a lawsuit against the UK's NHS, but the whole entire lawsuit revolves around their use of Palantir technology. So this is a big deal for Palantir, and if this organization is able to win this lawsuit, Palantir may lose this contract. So essentially, what this lawsuit is all about is that this organization thinks that the NHS is kind of giving away information to Palantir, and the public's information is at risk. Now, I don't really see a big deal with this. This lawsuit is kind of frivolous, but if Palantir is going to lose this multi-million-dollar contract, you can see up here that it is worth 23.5 million pounds. That is a contributing factor to why Palantir is trading so much lower today, as well as the overall market weakness that we are seeing recently. Due to the 10-year bond yields going up, people are more likely to go into bonds as a safe haven right now than into equity. So we're seeing money move from the equities market like stocks and into bonds. So Palantir's share lockup period from its IPO expired last week, meaning that all of the high-level executives that had shares locked away that they were not able to sell now have the ability and the right to sell their shares out on the open market. And we're seeing a lot of Palantir's high-level executives selling shares. So coming over here, we can see that today that Palantir COO Sankar discloses 21.5 million in stock sales. So he sold about 757,000 shares between February 19th and February 23rd at prices ranging from $24.59 to $29 a share, and he earned about 21.5 million from these sales. But as we can see that he still owns about 2.9 million shares in Palantir, so he still has a very significant position, which is why I think these share lockups and the sales of these high-level executives isn't that big of a deal out for the long term. It's not like they're selling 50% of their stake in the company. It's smaller, and it is the first time that they are able to cash in for some of these people on the massive run-up in the Palantir share price from its IPO. Coming over to this website, this is going to be fintel.io, and you can take a look at all of the transaction history for Palantir executives who have sold or bought shares in the past couple of days. So they have the trade dates and the file dates over here. This is going to be a little bit more difficult to read because a lot of these executives didn't dump all of their shares at one time. We can see that Sankar sold about 2,400 shares here, and if you scroll down, here is about 37,000 shares. So they're all broken up into different chunks, but you can see that all of these shares changed are all negative for the past week. So there are a lot of shares being dumped on the open market. We can see that Stephen Cohen right here actually had a conversion of about 2 million shares. That's not that big of a deal, but we are seeing Peter Thiel sell a bunch of shares. These are a lot of big sales in the company, and that is definitely one of the reasons why Palantir is going down. They're creating a lot more selling pressure in the stock than was previously there. When you combine that with the market reaction off of their earnings, this is just not a good scenario for Palantir in the short term, but long term, I think this is a great dip to buy for Palantir. Even though we are seeing a very sharp downtrend in the Palantir share price right now, that doesn't mean that there is still not good news coming out about this company. So there are a lot of contributing factors to this downturn in Palantir right now. A lot of it has to do with the share lockup, the earnings reaction, and the overall market conditions. But Palantir has received two good pieces of news over the past week that we definitely need to keep in mind, as this is one of the main contributing factors on why Palantir is such a great company. Now, the first one is going to be a price target raise, and this was from Goldman Sachs from $13 a share to $34 a share. That is over a 100% increase in their price target, which in my opinion is usually a good sign. When an institution like Goldman Sachs, they are a very popular institution, when they come over and give a very high price target for a given company, it usually means that they see a lot of upside in the future. We also saw Palantir ink a new deal with IBM in which they were going to help distribute Palantir's Foundry platform into new markets, which is a great sign for long-term growth for Palantir. But more recently, we saw Palantir expand their 3M relationship to build dynamic supply chains. So Palantir Technologies today announced a multi-million-dollar expansion of its relationship with 3M. The key word that I want you guys to keep a lookout for right here is multi-million-dollar. Previously, in the end of 2020, and it's maybe a couple of contracts in the beginning of 2021, all of these contract values and the numbers were actually being released in these articles. More recently, we have not seen that. So typically when Palantir would release one of these contracts, we would know the value of the contract, and that would really drive the share price of Palantir going up. Now, since they are releasing these new contracts in these articles and not telling us specifically what the contract values are, I think that is a very highly contributive reason why Palantir has not been jumping so much as it usually would off of the news of these new deals. So 3M has chosen to expand its use of Palantir's Foundry platform to support its digital transformation, assisting in the build out of a dynamic supply chain that enables the global manufacturer to respond nimbly to changes in demand across tens of thousands of products. The 3M executives actually had some words about this. In an increasingly complex world, the success of our business depends on our ability to respond quickly to changing facts on the ground. In the midst of a global pandemic and significant changes to our demand across products, the Foundry platform enabled us to react quickly and effectively. We're excited to expand this work across the 3M enterprise. That's always something good to see, that the companies that Palantir are working with are actually expanding and renewing their contracts. That just shows how effective their Palantir services are to these companies. Now, Alex Karp also had a comment about this deal. 3M has been at the forefront of digital transformation, and we're excited to deepen our relationship with this innovative and global company. This expanded relationship builds on the work Palantir already supports across 3M's efforts in supply chain alerting, demand forecasting, and business planning. That's kind of what the Foundry platform does, if you didn't know. It's a very simple dashboard that takes very complex data coming in and makes it very simple for the decision makers to use in order to make their business practices more efficient. Coming back over to the chart of Palantir, we can see it ended the day down 9.4%. There were a lot of very popular names that we have been talking about on this channel for a while that were down a very significant amount today, had a rally yesterday, but really sold off today. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind what is exactly is going on with the market right now. The 10-year treasury is increasing at a pretty substantial rate. I think it's up 25% in the last month. So that is typically a sign that people are moving out of equities and into bonds because they are going to have a higher yield and more safety. Now, once more people start to pile into these fixed income securities, we are going to see those yields drop. So eventually this is going to settle down and people are going to transition back into equities. But in the short term, we are going to see a lot of volatility, and these drops in these stocks that we have been talking about a lot on these channels, they're going to be great ones to buy because all of these companies are pretty solid fundamentally. Palantir has a lot of potential behind it. We saw ARK Invest put almost $200 million into this stock over the past week, and I personally like this stock for the long term. So that is going to be it for this update on Palantir. If you guys enjoyed the information that I provided for you in these videos, make sure you go down and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video, so you get to stay up to date on all of your favorite stocks, learn about a couple of new ones, and see exactly which options I am trading and which strategies I am using to trade them. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.